everyone, welcome to our coral reef turtle tutorial. Today you get to make two of these cute little coral reef turtles. You can see we've got some beige clay and we've got all sorts of goodness on top. So let's begin. In your kits you should have lots of goodies in your brown paper bag, some tacky glue, some polymer clay, our template mat, and you'll also need to grab yourself a chucks or a wipe to give your hands a good clean with in between. Let's get started. So you can see here we've got our clay for our turtles. So we're going to pull it out. We're going to be mixing up our ratios. So we've got about two, when we talk in eighths, we've got 2/8 tan to 1/8 white, and that's going to be the correct ratio that we'll need for our sucky turtle. Or succulent turtle. Coral reef turtle, my goodness. So for each of your coral reef turtles, you'll be using 3/8 of the clay. So 2 tan and 1 white per turtle. But for now, we're just going to be making one turtle, of course. I'm just going to show you the one today. Awesome. So we'll put those ones aside. It's for you guys to make at a later date. And now what we're going to be doing is mixing all of our colors. So we pretty well keep with the similar color tones that you can see, but we're basically just adding white to everything, making it a little bit pastel-y, a little bit lighter in color. So we'll just go through and mix all our clays. Obviously, if you guys wanted, you can make some lighter or darker. It's completely up to you. Alright, so now that our colours are mixed, we're going to be making one of our coral reef turtles. So you can see here, we're going to be distributing all our clay into little balls, so we get the correct proportions for each of our body parts. Now you will actually have a bit more clay than what allows you to make the little turtle here. So if you want, you can keep it to the exact same size on the template, or you can evenly make each of your body parts a little bit bigger ratio wise. So you can see here, I'm just going through and adding additional clay to all my bits, making sure it's nice and even before we start making our body parts. Awesome. So I'm going to start by doing our shell. Now this one, we're not doing it completely flat. We want our shell to be a bit circular, just like a normal sea turtle's shell. You can already see that it's a bit bigger than the actual template, but that's the size that I'm going to be happy with, I think. And now we're going to be doing our outer shell. So that's just a matter of grabbing your little ball, rolling it out into a nice long skinny snake, and then you'll use that to wrap it around the exterior of your shell. Now you do really need to ensure that you keep nice even pressure on your fingers so you get a nice smooth ring. And then we're going to do the easy part, which is our little tail, a little nub, followed by our head. Now this, for me, I like to use one of my fingers to push on my my cone shape and roll it, and you can see it's kind of creating like a light bulb shape. And of course I do a little bit of primping to make it sort of turtle shaped. And now the legs. You can see there's back flippers and front flippers, so you want to roll those out and divide them evenly for your front, your left and front, left and right, back or front flipper. My goodness. And you can see that they're kind of boomerang shapes. So as you bend them, you want them to be nice and curved, just like a flipper of a turtle. And once you've gone through and perfected the back legs, it's just the exact same thing for the front, but obviously a little bit bigger. Now that all our body parts are done, we can pop it all together. So you can see, just like that image on the right, you're gonna have pop your head on, smooth it out underneath. You're then going to be putting your front flippers on, applying that pressure so the clay is nice and combined. Popping the little tail on. And the final thing you'll be doing is finishing off with that little ring. This part can be a bit tricky to keep nice and clean, so you just have to smooth it and pat it out. Looks as neat as possible. Awesome. We're now ready for our coral reef. So you can see all the little different bits. We'll work step by step to complete each of these little coral reef parts. So starting off with our little purple barnacles you can see there. I've got 3 different sizes, from biggest to smallest, rolling them into balls, and then what you want to do is roll out lots of tiny little balls for our small little barnacles. And we're now going to be doing our big purple features. Honestly, I don't even know what a lot of these coral reef parts are called, so it can be hard to describe. But you're basically going to be doing the same size balls that you did for your light coloured purple. 3 of the bigger sizes and a good amount of those small ones to put around the outside. Now we're going to be doing our little sea sponge. So you're grabbing your smaller bit of pink clay, you're rolling it up into a ball, and you're just squishing it down flat for now. Just a little lump, nice and simple. And you can see here an example of how you'd be placing it. Moving on to our little purple barnacles, rolling it into a little light bulb sort of shape, or a cone. And you're popping them up together like so. And then we're going to be doing our little discs. That's just a matter of popping on your finger, smoothing it around so it has a nice little divot or indentation. And you're just doing that for each of those 3. Awesome. You're popping them in place beside your purple barnacles in the same sort of formation. Now at the back here you can see we've got a bit of a multicoloured blue sort of hairy thing going on. And that's just a matter of grabbing your darker blue, doing the same thing that we did with our little pink sponge at the front there. And then you're just putting a few little lighter coloured stripes in there. Awesome, now you can see we've got quite a few different pink colours going on here. So starting off we're going to be doing little pink balls, very similar shape to our purple barnacles that we were doing. And that's just a matter of rolling up different sizes. Of course, if any of these are too long or too short, it's just a matter of adjusting our little balls accordingly. And now we're rolling out lots of smaller ones, and they will be for our spikier part. So this is enough for 2 different coral reef parts. And then finally we're going to be doing, I know the name of this one, it's an anemone. We're going to be making an anemone to go right in the center of our shell. So again, rolling up little balls. You'll be a pro at rolling little balls at the end of this. Awesome, and then you're just going to be rolling each of those out into little snakes. Ensuring they're roughly the same width. It's okay if they're different lengths. That gives it nice detail. And then what you're going to be doing is placing them all together, and you'll find that that bottom point will be where all of the clay combines together to hold your anemone in place. Cute. Now I'm going to use my needle just to help me pop pop it in place. It can be a bit tricky to sit it in place without ruining your lovely little tips. And then we're going to be making our little cone shapes, similar to those purple barnacles that we made at the beginning. Now making all of these body parts are really just, not body parts, coral reef parts. Yeah, it's all about experimenting. I find that every time I make a coral reef turtle, I experiment with different things every time, and I chop and change, use different colors, use different shapes, textures. It can be a lot of fun to experiment with. So now if you can see, we've rolled it into little points, and this time we're going to be doing the opposite. So instead of having the nice thick ends, it'll have nice pointed ends. A little bit of seagrass or something. Oh, and I was a little bit long, so I just trimmed that down a bit. It's not sticking up quite so tall. And that works a bit better for me. Now finally, what we're going to be doing is rolling out lots and lots of different balls, and that'll be for all of our little barnacles around the outside. You can see I'm going to be rolling up different colours, different of each colour. All our little barnacle balls are rolled out. You can see now I'm just going through and placing them wherever I feel looks great, basically. Just plopping them all in place, and for now it looks quite simplistic, but we'll go through with a needle afterwards and give it a bit more detail, a bit more flair, and that's when you'll really see the transformation. It's got lots of different sizes, colours. Trying to fill it out as much as possible. Now what I'm doing here is I'm rolling out 3 little balls, and this is to put in the center of our nice sort of fuchsia purple pieces. So it's all in place. Now I'm just going to go through and do our detail and our painting. So to begin with, we're going to do all of our little holes in our barnacles. So you can see for the bigger ones, I'm popping my needle in there, spinning it around. And then I'll be doing the same thing with my pink sea sponge. You can see I'm trying to pattern it, make them as close to each other as possible so it looks nice and aerated and spongy. Cool. Then we're going to be doing our little spots on our anemone. So you can see here I'm just doing one little indentation on the end of each of our anemones. And then we're going to be going through and scratching. So there's a few different parts that require this sort of scratching motion. You can see I'm drawing out that blue and trying to combine it with our purple. Kind of looks like some cool hairy coral reef thing. And you just go through and do that with all 3 of them. And then you're going to go through and do the scratching on your little hairy blue part at the back. So we've popped our little light blue stripes on, and what happens now is as you scratch it, it creates a nice blended mixture of the light and the dark blue together, giving it really nice detail. And then finally we're going to go through and do all the tiny little holes in our barnacles. And you might find that sometimes you'll have to twist your needle a little bit and might try and pull the barnacle back with it. So if you do a bit of a twisting motion, it stops it from ruining any of the clay or pulling any out. Oh, stunning. Look at that. Now it's time to bake this guy. So, popping it in the oven. We're going to put it in for 6 minutes. And I'm going to have it at 200 degrees. Let's see what happens. So it's not quite ready yet. There's still a little bit of soft parts in the clay, so we are going to put it in for a little bit longer. Put it in for 2 more minutes. Perfect. So that smoke is a really good sign. That means it's cooked, it's set, and it's only a few minutes from that time where you'll find that it burns, so definitely keep an eye out. So he's cooled down and ready to be painted. What you're going to be doing is using your white paint to do a light wash just over all your coral reef parts. You can see it gives it really nice definition and detail, especially on those scratched parts. And then we're going to go through and put some extra gold details in there. So you'll see that around my little barnacles here, we're going to put a nice gold outline. And we'll be pretty much just going through and doing that with most of it. A bit of a highlight, a glimmer over everything. Being very steady-handed. You don't want to go getting it everywhere. Then you can see I'm going to be putting spots in each of these little ones and giving them a nice gold outline as well. Look at that shimmer. And then we're going to be going through and just giving everything a light dust over with the gold. Now that everything's dry, we've just had to do a few quick fixes. Just use your super glue if anything does fall off. And the very final thing to do is to glaze our polymer clay with our tacky glue. So you'll see here, we're just putting it on the coral reef part. So that way you get a nice sandy matte looking turtle, and then you've got a nice glossy colourful coral reef sitting on top. It's a really nice contrast. You do want to ensure that you're not going over the same spot continuously with the tacky glue because it will rub off some of your paint. So you want to try and drop blob on there as little as possible, ensuring it's not too gluggy in all the crevices as well. Awesome, that is our coral reef turtle done. Hope you guys love this tutorial and you made super cute little guys. Thanks so much for watching.